In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Fantasy Grounds Classic 5th Edition rule set, and we're going to be covering how you can create and add your own new races into Fantasy Grounds to take advantage of all of the automation features and capabilities that it offers. For the purposes of this video, I will be creating a demo race. The race I will be doing is from the AAW Underworld Races and Classes book, which was released, and I'll be taking a look at the Ahuling race from that product. Now, to add a race, we're going to start off like all of the others here at the race banner. So let's take a look at the structure of a race entry. On the surface, it looks relatively simple, but this front page, if you watched my previous video on backgrounds, you'll notice has the same structure. It has a main tab and an other tab. This main tab will just have descriptive elements. All of the magic, all of the automation occurs on the other tab. So we'll come back to the main tab to add in the information in just a bit. The other tab is where we add in all of our automation capabilities and where we define all of the traits and any sub races that are necessary for this race. So here under traits, we would add our list of traits. If we have additional sub races, we're going to go ahead and add them here and define any traits that are unique to that sub race in each entry. So for example, I can add a trait or two here. I give it a name and give this one trait. And it'll go ahead and then I can go ahead and edit those traits, give it any properties that I would like. Same thing we do with sub races. We'll go ahead and add a couple of sub races. We have subrace A and subrace B. Now, each subrace can also have traits. So if I go ahead and click on the subrace, I have a very similar window to my race entry. I have a main tab and other, and here on my subrace I have a main tab and other. So if I come back here to the other, here's where I list the traits that are unique or specific to that subrace. Do the same thing with subrace B. And include any traits that are unique to that specific subrace B. So this is how we construct our race. So we're going to go ahead and delete this one and start brand new and implement the Ahuling race. So I've already prepared my text. You can see here Notepad++, formatted it for easy import into Fantasy Grounds. Also, if you watched my previous video on feats, one of the things that I talked about was how Fantasy Grounds will attempt to parse out certain types of features, certain types of information, and automate that. And it can be certain things are understood by Fantasy Grounds in order to make that process easier. And the same thing is going to be true for traits or for race entries. And I'll talk about the various elements that are unique there. So let's start off creating our master race entry. We're going to put the Ahuling as his name. And we're going to skip over the descriptive elements for now. We'll come back to them in a moment. Instead, we're going to come here to the other tab. And we're going to start adding some of the traits. So all Ahuling share certain common traits. So one of the traits that they have is an ability score increase. This is one of those traits that Fantasy Grounds attempts to understand. So you can see here there are a variety of different strings or phrases that you can use. The phrases used for race are not the same as the phrases used for feats. So make sure you're using the appropriate one. So in this case, the Ahuling is your Constitution score increases by 2 and your Wisdom score increases by 1. You can see here your blank increases by, or your blanking score increases by blank and your whatever increases by. So there's a variety of different things that you can do there, various strings that you can combine together. And we'll go ahead and close that one. We'll add another one. There's a variety of other ones that are common. Things like age, alignment, size, speed are ones that you'll see very frequently. Dark vision is another one. So we'll add a few more here really quick. Age. In fact, I'm just going to add a bunch here and get out. Come in here to age. Now this one is going to copy the data in, but it's not actually going to do anything in terms of automation, simply because there's no automation required for age. It doesn't need to do anything. So some information about its alignment. What else do we have? Size is one that is automated. So if you have a feature named size, you can see here there's a phrase, your size is medium. And here we have the define. If you put in something like large or whatever, it will get set on the player's character sheet. But you can set the size here within the size trait to automate its setting on the character sheet. You can also set a default speed. Again, there's a variety of different phrases that you can use. You can see here your walking speed of blank feet is what we've got here. Your base walking speed is 25 feet. You can have things like a swimming speed or a flying speed or a climbing speed of some number of feet as well. There's a variety of different phrases that you can select from. Now, this particular race has a feature called a Hooling Wings that gives it wings. Now, in this case, it doesn't necessarily count as a flying speed, but so it's not. We're not going to use the descriptive text here of a flying speed of so many feet because it doesn't grant you a flying speed. This is something that would just be role played. This next ability called Bite is also one that you would need to manually go ahead and create. This one actually adds a new attack option for you. So this is something that the player would have to manually add to their character sheet after the fact. We're almost done here. So we've got light blindness as a ability. Or in this case, it's a weakness of sorts. Minor bloodthirst. And again, descriptive text here. And then I'm going to end up, I'm not going to finish out the entire thing, but I'm going to end up with these last two. One being superior dark vision. Superior dark vision is one that is interpreted by Fantasy Grounds. So if we scroll down here, you can see that both dark vision and superior dark vision, if you have a trait named that, Fantasy Grounds will search through the text looking for a number. That's really all it's doing, is looking for a number, and then it'll apply dark vision to that many feet when it's added to a character. So that's superior dark vision. And then lastly, we have the languages trait. And again here, languages, there are a variety, a couple of different phrases that you can use. Things like you can speak, read, and write, and list a language. You can read and write a language. You can include phrases like one extra language of your choice or one other language of your choice as options as well. Oh, it looks like I forgot one. So we'll add Radiance Vulnerability. It looks like I forgot. All right, so we've got all of the traits that are shared across all of the members of this race, all of the Ahuling. So now we're going to go ahead and build out our sub races. So everyone that selects the Ahuling race will get all of these traits, but not everybody's going to get all of the sub race traits. So we will add, in this case, there are 3 Ahuling sub races. First off is the aquatic fledgling. I'm just giving these their names. And vampiric fledgling. All right, so there we go. We've got their names added in, and now we can go ahead and define them. So the aquatic fledgling, we're going to open up. Again, the main tab is just for description. In this case, I'm just going to copy and paste the description that comes with it, and we'll come to the other tab. And here we'll go ahead and add the traits that are specific to the fledgling. So the fledgling has 3 traits. He has the born swimmer trait, the change shape trait, and the gills trait. Now none of these are ones that are going to be understood by Fantasy Grounds, but we'll copy and paste the details. Here is a trait that grants proficiency in the athletic skill and advantage on all strength athletics check made to swim. All right, so we'll come here, we'll add the rest of these very quickly. So we're just pasting in the text. So there we go, we've got our aquatic fledgling created. Now, to make things easy to read, it's nice to have links to all of these traits on the main tab. So what I'll do is I'll open each of them up, each of these traits up, and I'll come back to the main tab and I'll add a section on traits. And then I can go ahead and just drag and drop the links. All right, so now I've got my traits. So I'm going to very quickly go ahead and do this second one. I'm actually going to delete the vampiric one and not do it. So I'm going to open up the terrestrial fledgling and put its information in. Terrestrial fledgling, we'll give it its 3 traits. And here I'm just copying and pasting very quickly. And again, once they're created back on the main tab, I will include links to them to make it easy to look up. So born climber, change shape, and a ground control. All right, so we've got our 2 sub races now completed. So when we add this race to a PC, for example, if we create a new blank PC, when we add the race, it's going to add all of these traits to our character, and then it will pop up a window asking us to select which of these 2 sub races it's going to select. So if we go ahead and drag and drop this to race, it asks us to select, are we a terrestrial or a fledgling? We'll say we're or a terrestrial or aquatic, we'll say terrestrial. And it goes ahead and adds everything in there. So you can see here it's got the race selected, it's got the constitution and wisdom score modifiers, it's got my speed, superior dark vision. If I come here, it's got athletics pre-selected for me because that was a trait. I've got all of the various traits listed here, both for the the ones here for Olahuling and the ones that were under the terrestrial fledgling, like this ground control. So you can see here it's added all of that functionality for us. And that's how you create a race. Now, at this point, I would say we're not quite done yet, because when the player goes to open up their character, if they click on their race, it'll come to this main tab and it's blank. There's nothing there. So in order to help our players out, it's handy or helpful for you to go ahead and include all of the additional flavor text. So I'm going to copy and just paste, and this will seem very large, but copy and paste some of the flavor text that comes directly out of that PDF, and format it nicely so that when players read, they have all of the information at hand. So each of these adventurers' names, I can bold and bold. And then at the very bottom, I'll include the traits. And subraces sections. Now, once I do that, I'll need to do just like I did before. I'll come here, select each of my subraces, come back to my main tab, and then drag and drop the links. This just makes it easy for the players to find it when they're trying to look it up or select it. We can do the same thing with each of our traits by clicking open the traits and so forth. I'm not going to do all of them, and dragging and dropping them onto the main tab. And this just makes it nice for lookup purposes, as I said. And there you go. Now you have a complete, fully functional race added to Fantasy Grounds. And as long as you are careful about following the specific wording of certain of these, the automation will occur properly. There are a few ones that are special, so I want to point those out now. So for example, if you have a trait called Fleet of Foot, this is something that originates from the Wood Elf subrace. If you have a trait Fleet of Foot, Fantasy Grounds will look into there for this particular phrase, and it'll increase your walking speed by whatever that number is, 5, 10, or whatever you put in there. Similarly, if you have the trait Dwarven Toughness, it doesn't even need to have any descriptive text. It will just automatically adjust hit points based on that. The fact that the trait has the name Dwarven Toughness. If you have the trait Natural Armor, then it will look for the following strings. If it sees this string, your dexterity modifier doesn't affect this number. If that string is present, then it will not use your dex in the AC calculation. Then it will also look for this phrase, your AC is blank, or your base AC of blank. So, you know, if you have natural armor and it says your AC is 14, or you have a natural armor and it says your base AC of 12, and that's going to be used for the armor calculation. And then Fantasy Grounds will know which one and which modifiers to apply for your AC calculation. Another one that's pre-built in is Cat's Claws. If you have something named Cat's Claws, it doesn't have to have anything in the description portion, just the title. If it's named Cat's Claws, it'll automatically add a climb speed of 20 feet. And then, I think that's from the Tabaxi. And then lastly is the Powerful Build trait. If you have the Powerful Build trait, again, it doesn't have to require any description. It will automatically calculate encumbrance as if you were one size larger. So a medium-sized creature will have the same encumbrance values as a larger creature. And those are all of the predefined racial traits and the phrases that are used. As I mentioned in the feats, these are all documented on the Fantasy Grounds forums. There's a post which goes through each of these and all of the available options for them. All right, and that's all there is to making a race and adding it in. If you can also include things like pictures if you want, by linking to them if you have pictures of the race that you want to demonstrate. And then players will be able to use your new race as long as you share it with them, or if you export it into a module and mark it as available to the players. Thank you.